This is exactly what they told me. So the one shop told me they could repair it. They couldn't. And gave it back to me and only charged me the $35 diagnostic fee that they did. Another shop that I went to, which is it's across from Petco, that same shopping center-ish area, down from Hagen.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it called Hagen now?
Yeah, the repair.
Yeah,
the city repair.
Yeah. And there is a repair shop there for mobile devices. And he said it would cost, I want to say $100 to fix the connector, because that's what's wrong. The charging port got disconnected internally. The soldering came off, and so it was no longer connecting to the actual internals of the iPad. I think he said it was about $75 or $125, somewhere around there, to do that. But also there was a great likelihood that the glass would break in taking it off, because it's a unibody device.
Yeah.
And so there's a good chance that the glass would break, and that's just part of what happens. And so they're not responsible for that. So they would then order for another $50 or so a replacement glass. So it could have potentially cost me upwards of $200 to repair the device when I bought this for $329. This one right here, because they just released the new this new what they're calling budget version. It's basically their new baseline model. And so I think from Costco I got it for $319. It was another $10 off. So for $319, I got a model that was 3 years newer, and didn't have to worry about busted glass or whether the soldering would hold. It's just a brand new device.
A warranty for another.
Yep, and another. I've got a year. Apple provides 1 year warranty on all their devices. So, and I maybe someday I'll find a different shop and they'll charge less and they'll fix it for me, and then I can.
Maybe we'll find a youth in the church that like.
Yeah. But it's micro soldering, and so it's quite apparently it's, and I've soldered before, but apparently micro soldering is.
That's probably something Ken would do.
I've done it on dashboards where it's you can just see that plastic piece, or it's not really plastic, but it looks like plastic. And
Yeah.
It's got the soldering. You can see the copper looking lines going through them and stuff. I've soldered some of those before when they've broken on cars.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to replace the whole dash, because you replace the speedometer with the odometer, and the minute you replace the odometer,
Yep.
you come into problems with selling the vehicle because it's not the original mileage.
Mm-hmm.
So
So basically, the decision you have to make is
it's $100.
Yep.
I can't see you throwing it away for. It's $100. I mean, he was very clear about it. He wasn't. He says, and it was kind of, and I felt like he was like doing this, like walking away from it, and I thought, well, that's strange, different than the gentleman I haven't talked to in Tacoma that does Battery Plus. I know him well, and I don't know if I would be wiser to go up and talk to him. I could put $100 into me. I mean,
or you can go to the app. If you're going to Tacoma, you could also ask the Apple Store and see what they would charge for it.
And there's also life expectancy on them. If you're getting 4 years old, it's kind of getting there. And so, I mean, it's better to replace it anyway, because you could have it for 6 months and then the hard drive goes bad in it or something, and then you waste money anyway.
So it's up to you. If you're happy with it and you're willing to put $100 into it, which I'm not, I'm leaving that up to you. But just decide which is worth it. Do I want to put $100 towards repairing what I have, or do I want to put that $100 as a down payment, so to speak, on the newest model?
Well, the only reason I would change this is because the battery takes so long to charge.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you and I talked about that before,
Yep.
which is why I followed the path I did.
Yep. Well, and that's the right path to go.
You know, and
after being that old, any battery's gonna be on the end of its life.
Yeah.
Or beyond.
You know, I mean, like I I had it, I used it for 2 hours this morning and it went down to 81% of the battery in there. But
Well,
to charge it up now, like I'm plugged in now, let's say for an hour, it's maybe gonna go to 85.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
so it's, batteries probably. So you're doing the right route. Yeah,
I've
Bob.
got a little bit of a problem. From time to time when I go to use the phone,
Mm-hmm.
there's just a white screen and it won't load the keypad or it won't load any of the other data. When I turn it off with a hard reset holding both, it then eventually will come back. Is it a software problem or a hardware problem, do you think?
It's probably a software problem.
It doesn't pick up the finger.
Yeah, well, the software could cause that too, because it's all the software that allows the touch technology to work. So if the screen's going, if you were to touch the screen and it wasn't responding in general on a regular screen, then I would say it could possibly have something to do with the hardware.
Mhm.
But because
But
the
it's
screen's
unique.
going white, I'm thinking.
Yeah, and it's unique to the phone application.
Okay. So one option would be to plug it into your Mac, download the latest OS for the phone, and there's a way, I don't know the steps specifically off the top of my head, Bob, but there's a way to even if you have the latest operating system on your phone, there's a way to download it on your computer and then install it on your phone anyway.
Well, can't I download it directly off the internet?
Not from your phone. Because basically all your phone does is it looks for the newest version. And if you have it, it's not going to reinstall it. So by doing it on your computer, you're forcing it to reinstall the latest operating system. And so there may have been some kind of, overall the phone's working fine, but somewhere
Right.
there's some minor
Right.
glitch.
And it's intermittent.
Yep. And so if it becomes a problem or if it is a problem, then I would suggest looking up how to reinstall the current operating system.
Yeah.
And so, you plug it in the computer, load iTunes, have the OS preloaded on the iTunes.
Help me understand where iTunes fits into this. I had a problem the other day with being able to restore an icon on this. So I Googled it, and it said to go to iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
How does iTunes fit into all this?
Well, there's technically two iTunes. They're the same thing essentially, but there's the one on your phone. There's iTunes, which downloads music and videos.
That was the one I was getting all the time.
But if you're missing an icon, you want to go to the App Store, not the iTunes Store. Unless the website was referencing iTunes on your computer, which has a lot more capabilities.
What I Googled, how do I restore an icon on my Apple Pie?
Mm-hmm.
It came right up, but it said to go to iTunes. But then when I went to iTunes, all I was getting was buy music.
Yeah, music and movies and TV shows. No, you want to go to the App Store. I'm not sure why they said iTunes. But the App Stores, if you've lost an app for whatever reason, the App Store is where you would
The
go.
program, it was my calendar. The program was still in here. My calendar, but I couldn't find it.
Did it come back?
Yes, I
Okay.
eventually played with it, but I'm not sure what I did. It's part of the problem.
One of the things you said at the very beginning, you said you Googled it.
Well, I Googled information on how to do it.
Yeah, and
How
Google
to?
is an
I'm still good.
Android thing, and do you think they really care about Apple?
Well, but
But
Google's just a search engine, and so
Yeah.
I mean they do cater to.
And the response was specific to the Apple iPhone.
Okay.
Because when I Googled, I asked it, how do I restore an icon on my
Mhm.
Apple iPod phone? And it was very specific, the response,
Yeah,
which I was impressed with.
yeah. So it provided a link to a website that caters to Apple phones.
So
Yeah.
to do this in the future, I just go to the Apple Store.
Yeah, especially now with when iOS 10 came out last September, you now have the option of deleting most of the built-in apps. So if you've got some calendar app that you purchased with real money on the App Store and you never, well, I mean, you can re-download it, but you never think you're going to go back to the regular calendar, you can delete the regular calendar off your phone now and just use the one that you purchased. Same thing with Mail and Apple Maps. You know, if you, like I still use Apple Maps because there's certain things Waze doesn't do quite so easily that Apple Maps does, so I have both of them on my phone. But the primary one I use is Waze, and so I've got Apple Maps hidden down a couple pages on my device.
Anything new on what's the next iPhone, i8?
So current rumors, if I understand them correctly, is there'll actually be 3 models this year. There will be the 7, because right now the current one is the 7 and the 7 Plus. And so the rumors right now that I'm reading are there will be a 7S and a 7S Plus, and then then the name is up in the air of either being the iPhone 8 or the iPhone X, which is for the anniversary edition. It's the 10th year.
Mm-hmm.
And the current rumor, there will be no more obvious fingerprint or physical home button that you see. The fingerprint scanner will still be there, but it'll be completely flush with the rest of the screen and will be built in underneath the screen. And so the whole phone will be glass, the organic LED OLED, if you've seen that online before. And then basically the entire front of the screen, you know, if you look, any iPhone since the beginning has had those black bars on the top and the bottom of unused real estate, basically. That'll no longer exist on the iPhone 8. The whole front, minus where the camera and the speaker port is, will all be screen space. And so the phone will actually be a little bit smaller than the iPhone 7 Plus, but it will have a screen size of essentially the exact same. So the phone will be small. It'll be bigger than the 7, smaller than the 7 Plus, but the actual screen size will take up more. The cameras on the back will be, for the 8, whatever the big one is, will be the 2 lenses again, but the lenses will be vertical this way and have the flash set in between the 2 camera lenses. And so that's the current, at least hardware design of it. And again, all of that is still speculation. They'll likely hold their press event in the beginning of September, which is traditionally where they've had it the last several years to unveil the actual
Product available October, maybe?
Yeah, they're thinking October. It's typically been the end of September, but the whole getting the fingerprint scanner below the glass has caused a delay. Again, all rumor, but that's...
Yeah, before they release them, they have to have millions of units available.
Yep, and apparently part of the reason why a lot of these rumors are beginning to become likelihoods is some people from one of the manufacturing plants who works there, I don't know at what level, released information. Leaked information. There's also reports that, so Samsung is the one who makes OLED glass, the organic LED glass, and they have a contract now with Apple for millions of units of this OLED glass, and so that's another reason why they're thinking the OLED glass is likely to happen. So those are all the speculations on
Now the
next.
OLED is also available now on TVs.
TVs
Organic,
and Android
LED,
phones.
I guess
Yep,
it is.
it gets you a truer black, but apparently is also much more demanding on battery
For a cell phone.
for phones and tablets.
Yeah.
And I has something to do with it takes a lot more energy to produce the whites because of the whatever design it is, being the organic LED, because it produces some of its own light. But then to produce like the whites and the lighter colors takes a lot more battery to do it. And so I'm sure Apple's dealing with that. And one of the features in iOS 11 that was previewed was a dark mode, which may be their answer, which is also another reason why people think that it's going to be organic LED glass, is that because they are introducing the dark mode, and by doing the dark mode, it's easier to and less demanding on the battery to produce blacks and darker colors. And so by putting out this new color mode, they think that that's a preview, or we're doing this not just as a general feature, but as in they're anticipating the OLED glass to be in the next phone. So, and last week we didn't really get to talk about it much, but they did preview iOS 11. So it's going to be the same and different at the same time. If anyone has an iPad that will be able to update to iOS 11, you know that dock that we've always had in the bottom? You can now, much like on a Mac, you can now put as many icons on that dock as you want. So in the current iPad, you're limited to 6. With the new iOS 11, again, if your device is if they're going to offer it for your device, well, then you can put as many as you want on there. And the dock will actually disappear at the bottom of the screen, and then a flick of the finger will bring it back. And you can actually do that in apps too. So before, you used to have to go to the home screen, and then your dock would reappear. Even if you're in another app, you can flick from the bottom of the screen, and your dock will appear on top of your apps. This over here on the left is the new control center. So if you swipe from the bottom of your phone, you get this current control center look. And this is what it's going to look like now with iOS 11.
Now that's for the telephone, correct?
And the iPad also.
Okay.
The new dock style with putting as many as you want is for the iPad only, but this control center is going to be the same for both devices.
If I was going to get an iOS 11 iPad like this one, is that going to be Apple only? Probably.
Oh yeah.
I mean Apple Store only, rather. I meant.
No, I mean Best Buy, Target, Walmart, all of them carry.
I went over to Walmart this morning on my way coming over here. The guy had absolutely no idea what I was talking about.
For iPad?
11.
Well, the iOS 11 won't come out till this probably the 3rd week of September.
Oh, okay.
So this is all, they previewed it at their event last week, but it's in beta right now and won't be released to the public till the fall, unless you sign up for the public beta, which probably will come out either the end of this month or July.
What is the current version of the iPad?
10.3.2.
That's what I got.
Yep. So, files. So we've never had a file system for the iPhone or the iPad, and they're now releasing a file system, which will then also be on the Mac. And if you upgrade your Mac, for anyone who has a Mac, they're releasing a whole new file system. It'll look and act mostly the same, but the file system hasn't changed for quite a number of years, and so it's going to be a lot more efficient at what it does. So now there will be a new icon on your iPhone or iPad, which you can then access your files and can also link like your Dropbox or your Microsoft OneDrive or your Box.net accounts, which are all your cloud storage, into that app. And one of the great things about this and having this in the new version is now on your iPhone and iPad, you can drag and drop. So, with on a computer, you can click and hold on an icon and drag it into your email or drag it to a new folder somewhere or onto a Word document or something. The iPad and the iPhone will now have drag and drop. And so if you click on something, and one of the things they showed is if you click on like a picture and then you drag it to like an icon, like your messages icon, it will then open up the messages icon, and then you can drag it into the little where you type your text, and then that picture or file will just show up there.
Which means you could drag your pictures over and do it the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
You think it would be-
Let's see. Multitasking is even better for the iPad. Drag and drop, as I mentioned.
You have to be able to open 2 different apps then at the same time. Is that what you're saying?
Yes and no. So yes, you.
How could you drag something into something else?
Thank you. Well, for example, let's say I've got Safari open. Say this is my iPad that you're looking at right here. If I were to, this is Safari, and if I were to click on that picture, and because the dock now appears on your iPad on any app that you're in, I could then click and hold that picture and then drag it to the bottom of the screen, and then the iPad dock would pop up.
Oh, okay.
And then I would drag it to hover over the Messages app, and then the Messages app would open.
Okay.
Currently, my iPad, being one of the newer models, has a split screen mode, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now, where I can have 2 apps open side by side. And in that case, I would just have Safari open on one side and my email, as they're showing here, open on the other. And then I just click and drag it over.
How do you get a split screen? Is that a special app or?
Well, yours might have. So there's 2 different versions of split screen. There's actual split screen, which is what you're seeing here, where it's perfectly 50-50. And then there's another version where it just, you have like a little, well, no, it's like a little side dock of a different app.
Now,
And
this
so,
applies to iPads only.
Mhm. Yeah, it applies to iPads because of the computing power, but also more importantly, the screen space. So if you look here, I've got my Messages app open. If I swipe from the side of the screen, I get this list of apps that I can split screen with it.
Okay.
And so then I open up my Maps app, and so now they're open side by side.
You know, mine doesn't do that. Is that because mine's too old?
Yes.
That's my case, because I'm 9 point something.
Yeah, it would also have to be iOS 10. Yeah.
Oh,
It's an iOS 10 feature. So, but in that case, you would use that drag and drop feature that I mentioned, where you'd have one app open and then you'd drag it down to till the dock popped back up on the screen, and then you could drag it to Messages or Mail or something like that. Apple Pencil we don't need to worry about because that's only for the iPad Pro, and none of us have iPad Pros. Your camera can now scan documents instead of having a separate scanning app. So if you want to, and it turns it into a PDF immediately.
To a what?
PDF.
Oh, PDF.
Yes.
Okay, but you can't edit that PDF.
PDFs cannot be editable, but there are, as soon as you scan it, it does bring up a context menu for you to be able to mark up. So it'll bring up like different size pencils, so then you can tap on the pencil and use your finger as a.
Oh, I'm lost on this.
So you scan the document,
All
and
right.
then when you scan it and you click on the document, then on the screen here it will show virtual pencils, and for like varying thickness. And then you click on one of those, and then your finger now becomes the pencil. And so
what do
you
do with your
could
finger?
mark arrow, like you could circle something, like this is the bill, like this is the
Yeah, but
action,
how do I change?
or
the,
highlight.
How do I change the text?
You cannot, no, you can't edit it
Yeah.
as in the actual document.
Got
So
it.
if you've got a gas receipt, you could not, or not gas receipt, but let's say you've got a a memo. You couldn't change the word there, THEIR, to THEYRE. You can only mark it up.
Maybe
So
highlight it.
highlight or, draw an arrow pointing to, what it's for or different things like that. So
Then
you can.
you'd have to take it into an app that would convert. Aren't there apps that convert a PDF into executable? Or at least I thought in Microsoft there's some apps where you can take a PDF file and convert it into a active
Document.
Possibly an editable document.
into it converts it somehow.
Yeah, maybe. I've not
Yeah.
tried that, but it's probably possible. This has been available for Android devices for a very long time, but the iOS 11 brings quick type keyboards, so that, as you can see, if you look at your keyboard now, you always have to switch between the letters and the numbers by pushing that button in the corner. Now, if you, for example, touch the T and you just drag your finger, you hold the T and drag it down a little bit,
Yeah.
then
Numbers.
it becomes the number 5 instead of switching between
Oh.
the two different keyboards, the numerical keyboard and the alphabetical keyboard, the QWERTY
it
keyboard.
does. Wow. I never knew that.
Yes, Android
So
phones.
much easier.
Android phones have been doing that for quite some time.
Jeez.
Just like forever until it was either iOS 9 or 10. Apple devices, no matter whether you were in uppercase or lowercase, always displayed the uppercase version of the letters.
Yeah, put it on this though.
So, not until iOS 11. So, they're going big into augmented reality. So, it's already there, but they're going to make it a lot more native to the iPhone and the iPad. So, now Apple Pay is getting even more handy or invasive, however you want to look at it. So you can, and there's apps that do this now. My brother-in-law was trying to get us to do this. Do I still have it on my phone? I do not. It's by PayPal. It's called Venmo, I think, where right within the app, you can just send a payment to somebody. And now Apple, and some of them are, you can now get these app like Venmo. You can get it so that it also is included into your messaging app. And so now Apple's just decided to do that natively. So if you're out, for example, the reason why people do this is you're out with friends at a restaurant and you don't have cash, but you also don't want to have to be the one that foots the whole bill on your credit card and then have everyone hand you a whole bunch of cash. And so with Apple Pay, you can then just send a payment to Bob sitting right next to me. In the Messages app, I click the Apple Pay button on Bob's message between me and him. I enter the amount I want to send him, and I send him $25.
It has to be set up to a credit card? Or
Yes,
to
and it's linked to your credit card.
But not to the bank.
Well, it depends. Whatever one you have linked to your
Is that
Apple
risky,
Pay.
though? Because what if somebody gets a hold of your phone, then they have... of course,
Well,
they have to get
it's
through
enabled by Touch ID.
Touch ID.
So, your thumbprint or your passcode if you don't have Touch ID. So it'd either be the Touch ID or the passcode.
It's still risky,
Yep.
depending on how you look at
And
it.
then when you get that money, it goes into basically this Apple Pay cash card that you can even then use for Apple Pay. So if you're buying something online or like at Subway, you can use Apple Pay. So you could use this cash card for any money that's been, given to you by other people. Or you can then click on that and say deposit to my bank, and it'll deposit it to your bank account. Live photos. I know some of you have enjoyed live photos, and I know Sandy does, and she couldn't be with us today. But live photos, if you've ever taken a live photo, sometimes when you actually push the picture button, it doesn't capture the exact part of the photo that you wanted because it's a short recording. And so now you can swipe and figure out which part of the photo you want. So that 3-second video that it takes, you can move through this 3-second video and pick which part of it you want to be the picture part. And then you can also have loops, bounces, and long exposures.
Is live photo available in previous models?
The last couple.
Okay, you probably don't have one here.
It's only for the phone.
Oh,
I believe.
Oh.
I don't think it's available on the iPad. I think it's just for the iPhone. Oh no, it is. But it has to be a newer, live photo. Has to be a newer model.
So
Because my iPad Air did not have live photos.
This
So go back to that one
Yeah.
there.
the compression.
Oh yeah, so this one you're talking about?
Yeah.
So they have come out. So currently, Apple has the H.264 is how videos are taken, and then they've now come out with H.265, which has. You don't need to know any of that. All you need to know is that with your Apple devices, that if they're able to update to iOS 11, the compression rate is significantly better while retaining quality. So what that also means is that the file sizes will be smaller,
Use
but
up
the
less
quality
battery?
it'll take up less space.
Not battery.
Not battery.
Oh.
No. So after you've recorded your video, instead of taking 500 megabytes, it might only take up 350. I don't know what the actual
Okay.
efficiency is. What efficiency it has, but it is better. So it's going to take up less space on your phone. And then also, and the same thing with the pictures too. They now have, instead of JPEGs, which is what they've been using, they're now going to use a new HEIF is the abbreviation of the new picture. Which I don't know if it's real or not, but I'm assuming HEIF stands for High Efficiency Image
I
Format.
hope it's compatible with
Yeah, I hope it
previous
is
Is
too.
it
models.
compatible?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
will it be?
Because when you put your pictures on your computer, they're going to be.
Yep. Well, I'm sure that, there's your picture apps can handle so many different formats that most people probably, TIFFs and JPEGs and GIFs, and
So you can choose.
so I'm sure that if they release an update for your whatever photo product you're using, that it will be able to read this format as well.
Okay.
And so if somebody is sending you a picture, a JPEG, which to what you're talking about, the new style, will it say, oh, I understand what that is, and automatically do that?
Yeah, and there's probably, people sending you pictures, you may not even realize that it's some other format because your phone, your iPad just automatically understands what it is and reads it anyway. Just like when if I send a video to an Android phone, it reads the H.264, and they can watch the video. And when an Android takes a video and sends it to me, I don't know what their format is, but it's a different format, and my phone reads it. So all this stuff will happen behind the scenes, and you won't even realize it. All you'll know is that your pictures and videos will be just as good, if not better quality, and take up less space.
Question.
Yep.
I just happen to be looking at general information on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a capacity of 12.94, and it says available 3. So it would
3
tell me
gigs.
3 gigs. It tells me I'm 75% about
Yes.
of capacity. Put that in perspective for me. Could that now be slowing this unit down?
Not
Yeah.
at 3 gigs. No,
The 3
if you
gigs available.
right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
If you were down to probably 1,
Okay.
then that would affect the performance of the device.
And if I wanted to delete some files,
Mm-hmm.
and I would want to delete those that take up the most space,
Yes.
probably.
Yes.
How do I determine which ones?
So you go into settings.
Okay.
Give me just a minute. So settings general.
Okay.
storage and iCloud usage. And then at the
Storage and,
iCloud usage.
no, I don't see that. Oh, yes,
Okay. It
Okay.
should be on the, well, my phone's a little bit bigger, but it should be one of
I
the.
got it.
Okay. And then there's two sections. Your bottom is your iCloud, your top is your regular storage.
Right,
And so then you click on manage storage.
okay,
And then it will eventually, depending on how full your device is and speedy your computer is, phone is, it will then generate a list, and it will generate it based on the amount of space it is using.
okay.
So
Yeah.
my photo and camera library is taking up the most space by far.
Well, on mine, mail is taken up. Is that because I haven't deleted?
Yeah, and all the so it saves everything locally. So all of the attachments that you get, you know, if you've got like a 20 gig or 20 megabyte
Right,
attachment,
right.
and you have 100 of those, then
So is there an area where I can delete mail based upon a time period, anything older than
Yes.
that?
yep, you would go into your mail app or your mail settings in settings. Settings. So you go back to settings and you go down to mail, and then you would pick your account. Go to accounts, pick your account, and then there should be an option for how long you want them to sync back from. And so, for example, my Hotmail account is set for 1 month. So anything older than a month won't be on my phone. It doesn't delete it, but it's just not on my phone after a month. So if it's a month old, it will be available if I go to, you know, hotmail.com
Okay.
and check it, but it will not be physically on my phone anymore. So,
So it would appear to me that the first thing I had to do is start deleting old emails.
yeah. Yep. Or, yeah, deleting them or setting up that feature so that it's not on your phone anymore.
Well,
And saving that
space.
So you don't have a whole lot, because maybe your time period is short.
Yeah.
The way I said it.
Yep. Or if you're not getting a lot of attachments.
Yeah.
I mean, just a regular email is in the kilobytes, which is nothing. But once you add pictures or videos or PowerPoint files,
Facebook might have a
so
lot.
yeah, all of that. Yeah, Richard.
I get this all the time. I just asked. We were just having quite a
Yep.
conversation over here. I've got
Yes.
you, as in you, me, or other person. T3ch.
YouTube Red.
Yeah.
Yes.
You, as in
YOU. Yes.
in a
I don't know, say-
thing. Tube Red says get 3 months of YouTube Red free. I have no idea what it is. I'm sitting here. I've shut this. It came
It's
on
a-
here 3 times since we've been here, and I hit no thanks, and it comes. And I get it. I get it, and I don't know what it is. Should
YouTube Red is a paid service for YouTube so that you don't see ads, because YouTube's free, and so the way they generate money is by forcing you to watch ads when you're watching YouTube videos. So YouTube Red, there's other things also that comes with YouTube Red, but it's a paid subscription service to YouTube.
Okay, so no matter what happens, I'm going to get it. It's going to do this all the time, anyways.
I don't know why you're getting.
Well, I've done the no thank you. I do it at home. If I'm watching something coming through this to my TV,
Yeah.
and I put pause because I need something to do, and I come back, and I've had it, I click it off, I go, no thank you. As soon as I go back forward, and within about 5 minutes, it's back on again.
I would check to see what YouTube video players you have installed on your device, and
I don't even know about what YouTube is. I'm like this with this stuff.
it's
I'm just saying I don't
Yeah.
use it.
but you may have inadvertently downloaded it, I mean, there's all kinds of third-party YouTube apps available as well, and so if you accidentally, inadvertently, unknowingly downloaded either YouTube has never done it for me, so I'm assuming you probably got a third-party
I did
one.
something wrong. Okay.
then I would search your iPad for something that says YouTube on there
Yeah.
and delete it.
Well,
So
you
just
could
take-
do it in the, if you go to your manage
Yeah,
your apps, YouTube should show up and you click
just
and
delete it. Yep.
And then if you wanted to reintroduce the.
Well, I would only ever download the official YouTube app.
Yeah.
I've never in all my years had YouTube solicit advertisements like that.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing it's a third party.
I don't even have YouTube on here.
It doesn't show up as one of your apps.
That's what I'm looking at now.
Well, if you swipe, if you're in the middle of if you're on your home screen and you swipe down from the middle of the screen, it should pull up a search menu.
So I go to what, settings, and do that?
Nope. Just from your home screen, any screen on your, as long as you're not in an app. As long as you're not in an app, just swipe from the middle of the screen downward.
There you go.
And now there's a search bar and search for YouTube.
There should be a search bar.
It's on the top. No, not your notification center, no. So pull that away. Just not from the top of the screen, just in the middle of your actual screen. Swipe down a little bit. There you go. And check there. The App Store has been completely redesigned, or will be with iOS 11. So just be aware that if you go into the App Store and you get iOS 11, that's going to look completely different. And for better or worse, you may get frustrated. Messages is getting a little bit of a change in that, you know, I don't know if any of you have used stickers, but stickers are going to be easier to use now. Nothing really
How do you delete those?
thing that you really need to be concerned about that. Siri is getting a voice update, so she's going to sound even more human-like. You can also now choose a male Siri if you prefer a male voice, and she does it'll be in beta even when iOS 11 really comes out. It will still be in beta, but she can now translate for you, and that's the beta feature. So you ask Siri in English to say something in Chinese, Spanish, French, German, Italian, and Siri will translate the phrase for you. So, you can ask Siri to be your personal DJ. And part of the reason for that is because, as we talked about how I mentioned one of the things that would probably come out for at this event would be a competitor to Alexa, the Amazon Echo, and the Google Home, and they did, and it's called the HomePod, which is kind of a throwback to the iPod and the iPad, and so it is their home assistant powered by Siri, but they're focusing more on music. It's supposed to be this incredible, I mean, it's got a giant subwoofer in it, and it's got 7 speakers inside, and it has spatial awareness so that if you put it in the corner of a room, it's not going to send music into the corner of the wall, or even if you put it against the flat wall, it's going to send the music out this way, not back that way. So it'll be spatially aware of wherever you put it in the room to produce the best quality sound in the room. And so they introduced this DJ feature into Siri because it's also going to be available in the HomePod when it comes out.
So if you were to have that, do you have to have the music in order for it to play it? Or will it pick it off the air?
If you have it on, my understanding is if you have it on your phone, it will then tap into your phone's music library. Or if you have, like I have an Apple Music subscription, so I have access to over 40 million songs in Apple's iTunes library. And so I could just tell it, because it's connected to my Apple ID, I would just tell it to play basically whatever I wanted, and it would play it. But you could also ask it to play, anybody has gets a subscription to Apple's radio service, I believe, and so you could ask it to play Apple Radio, and then pick a station of some kind.
Which it sounds like it's trying to basically go away from having a CD player in your car.
Oh, yeah.
Or I mean, like that's the purpose of this.
Absolutely, yeah. Apple is definitely going more the music route, and that's why their device is twice as expensive as the Echo. It's $349. The Echo is $179. But the sound quality on this thing is supposed to be absolutely incredible. And Siri has always been about privacy, so she doesn't go and search all over the place for every single answer, like, how tall is Kilimanjaro and all those things. And so that's one of the big divides between the Google Home and the Echo versus like Siri. Siri is still all about providing privacy for you. Though she's getting smarter, and what now she is doing is, like with the HomePod, when she sends queries to the internet, it will be every time you ask her a question, it will send a one-time encrypted ID to the internet to get your answer and then bring it back. So the internet does not know who actually made the query.
Not
So
keeping track of your
no,
queries?
so it's not keeping track of your queries.
But
The Echo does? I mean,
Well,
the
but much
Google?
like your Apple or your messages with Apple
Mhm.
are encrypted on both ends, and they're only ever decrypted when my message reaches you. Much like Apple Pay sends a one-time transaction number, so that if someone were to catch that transaction number, they don't actually have access to your credit card because it's not your credit card being sent. It's that transaction number with that amount for the purchase. And so that's the same thing that Siri is doing here, is it's sending an encrypted query, and so they'll only ever get that encrypted set of gibberish. They won't actually get anything about you. It won't get your voice, anything like that. So Apple is still dead set on being your privacy advocate as best they can. But it's way more than Amazon or Google is doing by far.
So then also, if I'm hearing what you're saying, then there's no way of, maybe I'm in the wrong page here, but there's no way that you're going to get a virus coming backwards with whatever gets sent that way this way?
Unless you install some, this is way technical for a phone and an iPad, but there is a way to install, I don't even remember what they're called, but third-party permission codes on your. I'm blanking on what it's called, but you can go onto a website and you can download these third-party things. I actually do have one, but it's through Apple. It's called Hockey App, and so it allows me to download and test beta apps. And so I do have a third-party, whatever that thing is, installed on my phone. If you install one of those on your phone, or your iPad, then you're opening yourself up to viruses. But everything else that is run on the iPhone and the iPad is all within the Apple ecosystem. Apple does not let you go out and just install or download or do anything that would be harmful to your computer or to your iPad or iPhone. So there is a way, but it would be incredibly difficult for you to do that.
Well,
Which is why, in all my years, and I'm assuming you as well, have never had a virus on your iPhone or your iPad.
No.
Because unless you download that third-party thing, and some do, for example, medical professionals, in order to have a custom app only available to the hospital, they create that third-party thing, and then they download that app because they don't want the app to be on the App Store. There's no reason for, St. Jude's to have an app on the App Store for their doctors, and so they create that third-party key, whatever you call it. Still don't remember what it's called. Anyway, and then they can go to the website and download the app through that route. And if you download something like that, then you are vulnerable. But
Well, I have
almost
the
no
same
other
for-
way.
I have a medical thing because that's how I do my cancer thing on here.
Right.
So I know that. So
But that's
I-
downloaded through the App Store, or it's just through a website.
Yes.
Yes, I'm talking about you're downloading a completely separate program that then sends a key code into your Apple device that lets you download unverified apps that are not from the App Store, which is not what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
You're going in through a website
Okay.
and going into their I know it sounds similar, but it's completely different.
Well, it's just as safe though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, here's the Control Center, and Control Center will also then let you add custom apps too. So if you want to add more than just what's here to be able to swipe up and get to things, then you can do that. And you can also hard press on like the airplane mode, the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth. If you press hard on that, it will bring up a bigger context menu with more options. So they're just trying to get you to reach more of the things you want to get to more quickly than going like just now. We went into settings and then general and then
Is
So-
there a control setting on folder?
Yeah. If you just swipe up from the bottom of your phone,
Oh,
Open it,
know how to
swipe
get-
up,
Oh,
yep.
okay.
and then if you swipe right or left, then you get to the music
Oh, okay.
app.
Did you know
I
that?
didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people don't realize that, which is why in iOS 11 you can see that they've added the music app
Oh,
on the same screen, so that you don't have to do any more swiping.
So this is all the new stuff that's coming out now. That's what you're talking about.
In September. You can also enable Do Not Disturb while driving.
Oh, never.
So that sometimes it's just nature. You hear the ding, you feel the buzz, and you look down and you get distracted, even though you didn't mean to be. So now you can enable a feature in settings so that when it recognizes
that it's moving.
that you're moving like more than, because if you're running, you're going 3 miles an hour. But if you're driving in a car, once you hit 20 or 25, then it will kick on this mode. And you can even have it send an automatic message, like a text. If someone texts you, it will automatically text back and say, I'm driving, I'll contact you when I get to my destination. You don't have to enable that part, but it's an option.
So are you going to get one of these newer? You're talking phone here, but for the iPad.
Well,
are you going to get a newer one when 11 comes out?
no, that's just the operating system, and that is completely free, so long as Apple deems your device able to support it. So my iPad just came out in February or March, and so it's going to be compatible for the next probably 3 years. So when September hits, I will download for free the new iOS 11.
Okay, because I've got iOS 10, I think, in here, whatever it is.
Yeah. So you may or may not. I don't know. They won't say until it releases what devices are going to be compatible with it.
Oh,
So you'll have to wait and see.
Another reason to upgrade.
Yes, that's potentially another.
well, I mean, I'm thinking. I mean, I'm listening to you're saying because it's 4 years old, and I understand that.
Yep.
It works just fine. Whether I should change the glass and the battery for $100, I don't see it being an issue. $100. Oh, change the glass, change the
Yep.
the battery.
Yep.
But I'm getting the feeling that I'm missing, like I'm in a lurch, missing.
It's
the next
possible.
step,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah, and maybe it's worth waiting until iOS 11 is released to see if
It's worth it.
if your device is compatible with it, and if not, then you'd be missing out on 11 plus all future releases of the operating system.
Because I talked to Verizon because I'm thinking about changing my phone system.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if these guys here in town, if it's like dealing with a box of rocks or not, I don't know. But I'm kind of not comfortable dealing with how I'm seeing it here. I don't know if it's just from these people or I should be looking someplace in a different avenue about getting for an iPhone or like all that stuff to go that way.
Yeah.
Or I tried to my carrier for my phone. That's what they sent me for their idea of I always remember when I talked to you was a 607.
iPhone 7.
The
Yeah.
thing was like nothing like what you guys have.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah,
just
I
sent it back and said no.
Yep.
Because I listened to you, said no, send it back, which I did. And they refunded back my money, pushed everything back, like it was all changed back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, I'm sitting on a fence. I don't know, which avenue to trying to get into the newer world as much as I don't understand this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scared to death to do it because this is fine because I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
This other stuff, it's here, and
Yep.
I know that.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed when I logged on today, this is a different subject, but
Sure.
when I logged on and I think everybody had a little bit of a problem. You type in your 1212 connection street. Mine's saved now, so I don't have to type that in. But I have two browsers, Internet Explorer and Edge,
Mm-hmm.
and I use Edge now pretty much all the time. And I go on to Edge, can't find the internet, Down over here it says I'm connected.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill brought up when you gotta have that one thing where you click saying you accept your terms.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't bring that up. It didn't come up. So I clicked on Internet Explorer. Bang, first thing come up, you gotta accept these terms. If you
Yep.
accept them, as soon as I hit that and then went out of Internet Explorer, then I can go back to either one.
Yeah.
So it doesn't like Edge, but it does like Internet Explorer if you have both on your machine.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, Edge, they kind of went back a few years and made it extremely basic, and so they're slowly building it back up. And so there must be something in the code of Edge that is not recognizing the need to reaccept the terms. Yeah.
Airline's doing it.
Yeah.
Turned it off and came back on and wasn't there anymore.
The Maps program will now do places like malls. So, and that will slowly get released. It's not going to be
It'll
right
tell you
away.
where the store is
Yeah.
in the
So
mall.
if you look at this picture, it shows, you walk up to the little kiosk and or the,
Right.
the lit up signboard, and it tells, you are here and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now they're going to start slowly releasing malls and other shopping centers.
Where
they move stuff around.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Or Fred Meyer's up the street.
Where they move stuff around and you can't find it. That'd be
So-
really
Yeah, so it'll show you again with your blue dot, just like as
Or
if
they
you were
want to
driving.
move around in the stores.
That's right.
I don't think they'll be that specific, but so you'll be able to see where you are in, Einstein Bagels, where the Starbucks is, and wherever you need to go. So
We got talking with the people at ABT Home Security just Friday, and I talked to them again today.
mm-hmm.
And they were telling me about a deal that you get an app for your cell phone.
Yep.
And you can turn your alarm off or on,
Mm-hmm.
or just to stay or gone
Yep.
from wherever.
Yep.
You can see who's opened your doors if you have, like we got dog sitters, when they opened them and closed them. And they'll also put a camera in my house and you can watch, try to decide whether it's worth $8 a month to have
Yeah.
that feature. Well, because they also monitor fire and everything.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that
Things
that I think started moving forward quickly because of all the smart home stuff. And now these alarm companies are also jumping. Comcast has their own alarm system now, and actually they're now getting into the cell phone market of like Sprint, Verizon, wireless, Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. They're getting into that side of things, not producing phones, but selling you contracts and
Must be
things like
profit.
that. Yep.
Big profit.
Yeah.
So now Google Maps has been doing this for a long time, but now you will get lane guidance in Apple Maps.
Oh.
So showing, instead of just, if there's like 3 exit lanes or 2 exit lanes, it will show you both exit lanes and show
There
that you
you
can
go,
take
yeah.
both of them. Before it just would say, exit right. And
It'd sure
not
be
let you
nice
know.
if they could put in current
Traffic?
Traffic, is there one that does both? I mean,
Waze.
takes you where you wanna go and also shows you that there's
Well, no,
congestion.
Apple and Google Maps do that, but not quite
not
to the
simultaneous.
degree
Waze does.
as Waze does. Waze, because Waze is WAZE. It's crowdsourced, and so I'm driving up the I-5 up to T3ch, and it will tell me that there's an accident and that there's
Pretty
a
current,
faster
then.
route. Oh yeah,
Okay.
because the second someone
Somebody
second
input-
someone
okay.
else reports it, it then gets distributed out to every other person that's using Waze at that moment. And then, so you could be in the middle of a drive. Let's say you're 2 hours from your destination, and it will say accident reported ahead, faster route found. And you can either stay the course or you can click on the button that says faster route, and it will then reroute you to that
Waze
other.
will do that?
Yeah.
Waze, huh?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it happened the other day, or when
Is
we
that
went on
on
our
the
when we
iPhone,
went
or-
our on the iPhone.
That's
Only iPhone.
Well, no.
Oh,
Waze is for iPhone and Android.
Okay.
And so we were on our trip to Arizona, and
You're not familiar with the area, all the roads and
well,
bypasses?
no, it was going to the
Okay.
airport, and there was an accident, and 3 lanes were closed,
Ooh.
and but it did not suggest a faster route because
It wasn't.
someone else had reported that it was being cleared up.
Oh, okay.
And so instead of rerouting me and potentially actually causing me more time, it then said there's an accident reported. It didn't say all of this, but basically it's still the fastest route because the accident was cleared. Whereas before it has told me to
Go to
get off in
99
1 mile and
yeah,
take
99,
these,
I think.
yeah.
So
So
if just one person phones in and says there's an accident, then that immediately starts this reroute.
well, no, there's a reporting feature on
Is
the.
it a voice? Because you shouldn't be typing.
Yes, there is. If
when
you
you're driving.
what it does, there's 2 ways to do it. One, it does tell you not to do it if you're driving.
Oh, okay.
And so the passenger would be the one reporting. But she also alerts you. There's also features for objects on the side of the road, and so if people report that, or a car on the side of the road, or police officers on the side of the road, red camera light on surface streets, she will warn you of all those that have been recorded and verified.
Red camera lights?
Yeah. Meaning if you run through a red light,
Red
and it,
light.
yep. Yeah. But so anyway, there's the feature for the passenger to do that, and so you click on something and it'll say, you're driving, you blah blah blah, and I think it says uh-oh, and then you either push your passenger or you click accept that you're not going to do it because you're driving. But there's also, because there's the front camera, if you wave your hand in front of it twice, it activates voice prompt, and so then you can say accident, and then there's voice prompted things to be able to report things with
So
just
I
your
just
voice.
wave in front of the camera here?
No, the front-facing camera.
Oh,
Kind of like.
but I don't have a front face.
Yeah, you
Oh,
do.
I do.
Yes,
I
you do.
I
Yep.
do.
So you
I
wave
use
twice.
that when we're traveling, but it's
Mhm.
trying to get the driver to believe it's okay. That doesn't work.
Becca distrusts her sometimes too. She misled us one time by rerouting us because of an accident, and it was like a sketchy part of town. And anyway, but yeah, so you can report, but and most of the time, I mean, things are already. I hardly ever report because most things have already been reported by other people, and so. But she voice prompts you, in 2 miles, and then if you are in traffic, this little bar on the left side of the screen pops up and shows you how far you are along the reported amount of traffic. And so, you can
If
see,
you're right at the head of the line.
yes,
wipe
or,
it off.
you're only halfway through or you just entered into dead stop traffic. And it, the green means it's clear, yellow means it's light traffic, and red means heavy or dead stop traffic. Yep. So,
Keep that on the whole time you get charged for that.
No. Well, it's charged as in cellular data charged.
Oh, okay.
So you get charged for your using your cellular data, but the service is 100% free. They have advertisements, so like if you drive by a Chick-fil-A, they'll let you know there's a. I mean, not all the time, but or like some of the other ones, like Big O Tires. If you drive near Big O Tires, it'll like pop up a little coupon for Big O Tires, and that's how they make their money.
Okay.
So
So if you're charged for data time
That's what I'm trying to
and you've got it on driving for an hour or 2 hours, how much data will that use?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, we've got a big data package, but we've never gone over it when we use it. Obviously, it gets used more when we're traveling because we have it on all the time, as opposed to, driving around town and such, we don't use it. And we do have it on when we go to T3ch, just because we actually wouldn't have missed our flight, but it would have been quite the close call had our flight not been delayed because of the because of that accident that closed most of the freeway lanes. But we've never gone over. But you might be able to do a Google search to find out,
Figure out what you think.
what people have probably calculated it. And so if you do a Google search, they might be able to tell you on average it takes about this much of data per hour of driving or something like that. It does take up quite a bit of battery though if you leave the display on. You can still close the screen and she will still, or you can change the voice so he or she
But
will
you would
still
have to plug
prompt
into
you.
your-
And you
Right.
can plug it in to keep the
When
battery
I push
charged.
the
Yeah.
top like that, it closes the screen,
Yes. But your device is 100% on and functioning.
so I save battery.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
But you'd still be, if you're driving along, you'd still be using data.
If Waze is running, yes, you'll still be using your data. You just know at that point, just by closing the screen, you're just saving battery life.
So all that does is close the screen.
Yes.
Well, then to turn it off,
To turn it off, you would hold down that same button for about 5 seconds, and then a prompt will come up, and you slide your finger where it says shut down,
thank you.
and then that shuts the phone off.
Could
Yep.
that be why you're using your battery off?
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, if you know you're not going to be using your phone, like during a movie, then you can just shut the phone off
Yeah, I
throughout the
hardly ever
movie.
use Wi-Fi
Yep,
anymore
there.
because it's
Yep,
always searching.
And then you slide your finger and it
It's
shuts it
always trying to
completely off.
search to find a Wi-Fi connection, so I just